Happy Friday, everyone. I want to talk to you today about a supervillain from the Marvel world that you probably have never heard of, the Blob. So, who is the Blob? He's exactly that. He's a Blob. He does have superhuman strength and durability. His fatty body can absorb bullets, even artillery shells, and it's impervious to injury. However, his eyes, his ears, his nose, and mouth are not as injury resistant. When he plants himself firmly, the Blob bonds with the ground beneath him, and he cannot be moved. The Blob, he grew up a carnival freak, and the X Men try to recruit him to be a member of their team, but rather than accept membership into the X Men, he attempted to destroy them because that's what people do. He was then recruited by Magneto to become a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and with them, the Blob embarked on a life of crime, clashing not only with the X Men, but also with the Avengers. So, possessing the mindset of a bully, he mostly just uses his powers for petty crime and his own personal gain. He used those powers to consume things in this path and to get what he wanted. So, let me ask you this question: do you consume more than you actually need? I asked the question because I want to talk about this stuff. How much stuff like clothes and food and toys, video games, technology, vehicles, whatever you want to put in there, do you use that you really don't need in order to survive? I know for me, excuse me, there's quite a bit. I believe that when we consume so much stuff, I believe it's because our focus is off. As a student pastor, I see this all the time. Just for example, if a student loves video games and spends all their time playing video games, then I believe their focus is on entertaining themselves. Or you might be like me right now, and you might be eating everything in sight because you're focused on comforting and satisfying yourself. And while these things are not necessarily bad for us, they can pull us away from what is best for us. So when someone consumes more than they need, they actually can end up denying God by making what they consume more important than Him. Proverbs chapter 30, 8 through 9 says, "First, help me never to tell a lie. Second, give me neither poverty nor riches. Give me just enough to satisfy my needs. For if I grow rich, may deny you and say, 'Who is the Lord?' And if I am too poor, I may steal and thus insult God's holy name." So the author of this proverb asked God to make him neither rich or poor. It reminds me of the disciples' prayer, where Jesus taught his disciples to pray, and he taught them by told them to say, "Give us this day our daily bread." So let me ask you: do you ever ask God for just what you need to make it through the day? Imagine praying for exactly that, just what you need. Praying that God will give you lots of money just so you can buy lots of things, lots of stuff. Pray that God gives you what you need. Many times when we go to God, it is because we want something we might not necessarily need. So I challenge you to spend more time with God and less time consuming. Having obsessions, those things that you think you can't live without, have those things replaced God in your life? How can you start consuming more God and less stuff? And for the record, this devotion may be meant more for me than anybody else, but I know I'm not the only one who needs to be reminded of this truth. Augustine, the theologian, once said, "It is easy to want things from the Lord and yet not want the Lord Himself, as though the gift could ever be preferable to the giver." So may you pursue Him above all things. Love you guys. Have a great Memorial Day weekend.